Welcome back, everybody. Robert with Occupancy Boost. Today, I'm going to go over reviews, kind of a different video for me. I get asked probably from about every hotel, motel owner operator that I talk to how they can improve their review scores. Booking.com has some really neat tools back on their extranet for operators to use in order to improve their review scores. It's all about taking care of your guests before they arrive, and after they check out. I'm also going to touch on photos and amenities and show you guys why those are important tools in getting your review scores to the highest level possible. Stay tuned. I'm going to switch screens and show you guys how to get this done. Okay, we are in the Booking.com extranet right now. And the areas that we're going to go to here, right at the top under this inbox tab, you've got reservation messages, Booking.com messages, and guest Q&A, guest questions and answers. This Booking.com messages, we're not going to go over that. Those are messages that come directly from Booking.com, typically about billing or a specific reservation, chargebacks, all that kind of thing, your invoice. So our focus today is going to be on reservation messages. Those are messages that come from guests typically prior to their arrival, and then guest questions and answers are questions and answers that guests ask, just typical questions about the hotel. So those are the two areas we're going to focus on. So I'm in the reservation messages area right now for this property, and you can see here the reply score is 58%. That's really low. That means 58% of the questions that get asked get answered. So they're missing out on about, obviously over 40% of the questions that guests are asking. And this is why this can hurt your review score. Obviously, people, before they arrive, they're gonna want to know things about the hotel, and you can have all the stuff in your extranet filled out correctly, and I'm going to go over all that here in a little bit. You can have all your amenities filled out and really good pictures. People are still going to ask questions. You can't avoid it. So I'm going to show you some simple ways of getting back to people on their questions. But, you could do better than a 58% reply score. It's not like you're getting a question every minute. You're just getting a few questions a day. And this reply score here, if you go here to the Analytics tab and you go to Ranking Dashboard, Analytics Ranking Dashboard, it's going to take you to this screen right here. And what this screen shows you is basically a rundown on your property's overall score. And this reply score is housed in here. And it shows you that the hotel's reply score, like I showed you on the other page, is 58%. The area average is 68%. That means all the hotels in the area are doing a 10%, they're doing a better job of replying to their customers. Now, 68%, in my opinion, still isn't good. I have hotels that are at 100%. And again, the hotels that are replying to guests in a timely manner and getting guests' needs taken care of before they arrive automatically create a better experience before arrival. So this is the kind of thing that can help your review score. So enough on that. Let me go back to the reservation messages. And I'm just going to show you, I'm not going to go through a bunch of, questions that guests ask. I'm on one here. This particular guest said, "I will appreciate it if the rooms can be beside each other. Thank you." So this guest apparently booked more than one room. They want their rooms to be next to each other. Now, the reason it says no reply needed here is because this guest already checked out. This is one of the responses, or this is one of the questions that the hotel never answered. So obviously can't answer the question. The guest has already checked in, checked out. They never got their question answered. So these types of things guests are going to ask you. They're very simple questions. They're not going to be anything that's going to take a long time for you to answer. But my recommendation is for you to have each shift at your front desk go through and check these once every shift. So you're checking it about 3 times a day. That's pretty much going to ensure that no guest question is going to get unanswered. And you want to get that review score up. Your goal should be 100% for your review score. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, it's got a little tab here called Templates. And I've got a video that I did, and I'm going to have a link down in the description on how you can answer these guest questions, reservation questions, very, very quickly. You've got the ability in both Expedia and Booking.com to create templates for your hotel. And all you have to do is just click the button there on the templates, and it's got all the names of the templates that I have here marked for this property. And if they want to answer a question for the guest in a real, a real easy way, they just click on that template and it automatically will put that message into that reply. Now, the reason they have it set up like this is because obviously a lot of questions that are asked by guests are redundant. They get the same questions. Typical questions that you're going to get more often than not are going to be check-in time, check-out time, what the cost is for early check-in, what the cost is for late check-out, wanting to switch a room type. They want to switch their room from smoking to non. You can set up answers for all those questions that you typically get in that template area, and that is housed right here under property, and you just go to messaging preferences. I'm not going to go there now. Like I said, I've got another video, a complete video I did on this. It shows you how to do that, and I've got a link in the description, as I mentioned, for that. So property tab at the top, go to messaging preferences, set up your template. You can answer these questions real easy. Now this area here, let me go back up here to the inbox. This guest questions and answers. This area, I'm on this tab right here. These are just general questions that guests ask. It's pretty similar to reservation messages, but they're not tied to people that have already made a reservation and they're arriving at your hotel. They may already be at your hotel. So this guest question and answers, pretty much the same thing. I mean, I'm just on one question here. It says I want 2 double beds. Easy question to answer. Like I said, these aren't going to be hard questions to answer, but if you go in here once every shift to your inbox, go to reservation messages, guest questions and answers, and have your front desk or whoever's working at your desk answer those questions that guests have sent. I can tell you your review scores are going to go up because you're taking better care of the guests. Okay, the next section I want to get into here is your answering guest reviews after they've checked out of your hotel. You just go up here to the top, go to guest reviews, and click on that guest reviews button, and it's going to take you to this area right here. Again, this is where guests, after they've checked out and they've rated your hotel. A couple things to keep in mind here. After a guest checks out of your hotel and they leave a review, when you reply to them, it's going to show up. Your reply is going to show up on your website. People in the public are going to be able to read this. Anybody that's looking to stay at your hotel and they want to look at your reviews, they're going to be able to see what your response was. So be very careful how you respond to the guest. Be a little bit more professional, I guess, in your responses. And I think an important thing to note there, because it's an image to the public. It's spread out there to the public, so you definitely want to be careful. All the time how you're responding to guests, but especially when it's being shown to everybody else. So this area here, just like Expedia, they give you a whole breakdown on your reviews. They go back like the last 3 years, tell you what your review scores have been. They give you different categories on your reviews, what guests like, what they didn't like, what your progress is like. I'm not going to dive into this too much. I mean, you guys can go in there and kind of take a look for yourself, but it's going to basically give you an indication of how much better you're doing at your hotel than you've done in the past. And it gives you kind of a barometer to read on how much you're improving, which I think is a great thing. Obviously, if we can score ourselves and see progress, it's going to mean the things we're doing are working. And I think, the couple things that I mentioned here before we got to this section, like responding to guests before they arrive, is going to make a big difference in your review score. It starts off to stay really, really well. If you scroll down here a little bit, so you can see all the charts and graphs they have, a lot of information there for you to go into. And they also explain, too, how they do their reviews. Booking.com, customers are able to rate the hotel from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. This hotel happens to be at a 7. Not horrible, but definitely room for improvement. If you scroll down here, you're going to see where the guests have left their reviews. And this is the most recent review for this hotel. And to reply, you just go to this with comment section, and then you just hit the reply button and just reply. And they also give you tips on how to reply to the guest. Now, one important thing that I want to go over here. If the review is really bad, obviously you want to respond to it online. If the review is really good, you want to respond to either with a short message like a thank you or please come back and stay with us again. And you can have your if you're desk clerk or you're like an hourly employee, you want to have them respond to these, that's fine. If they're really bad reviews, I would make sure that the operations manager or your owner is responded. For the smaller properties, your owner's responded to those reviews. My recommendation here for a really, really bad review is to offer to have the guest call the hotel and speak to the manager about it. That's going to make a big difference in, I think, first of all, how the public sees how you handle your guests, but also too, resolving the guest to me is always better to do over the phone if it's a really bad situation rather than do it through email. I don't see how you can get a guest to come back and stay at your hotel again, or you can resolve a really bad problem that the guest had if you're doing it, if you're responding to them through an email. I think some of these reviews call for a phone call, and I just don't see enough hotels doing that. They try to resolve everything through a simple email or a message, and in my opinion, that doesn't always work, especially if it's a really like a situation where the guest had a really bad experience. And the guests are going to review you on different categories. You can see here that they review you on the staff, the cleanliness, the location, facilities, comfort, value for the money, all that good stuff. After they've done review, it gives an overall review score, and then your overall review score for that's an overall review score for that guest, and then your total review score, like I said, for this hotel is a 7. It's going to give you a total review score. So your goal basically is to get this review score up to keep climbing up, and you can go through these charts and graphs and everything and kind of see how your progress is. So I think, just like I said, a couple tips are going in there. Answer the guest no matter what. Do it right away. I wouldn't wait too long. I think I've seen hotels go in here and reply to guests like 2 weeks after they checked out, and I just think that looks unprofessional, and the guests do notice that, especially if they've had a bad stay. And if it is really bad, I would offer, you don't have to, but I would offer to have the guest call the hotel and resolve it over the phone. Now, the last area that I want to go over here is your photo score and your amenities, your photos and your amenities. If you go under the property tab here, you can see that there's a tab here for photos. There's a tab here for facilities and services, and there's also a tab here for room amenities. This first tab here, photos, this is just all the photos. This is where all your photos are housed for your property. I'm not going to go in there right now, but making sure you have accurate photos that tell what your hotel really looks like is going to make a big difference in your review score. If you've painted your hotel rooms, if you've changed the bedspreads, if you've changed your furniture around, you want to get new photos taken. I see complaints come through quite a bit from customers that are upset because the room doesn't look like it did in the photo. So, important thing there, if you've done a lot of updates to your room, even if they're small ones like paint or bedspreads, you want to get new photos taken and upload them here. They're very easy to do. You can take photos now with a phone and upload them to your Extranet, and phones take really, really good pictures nowadays. In the past, you used to have to buy expensive cameras. Now an iPhone or an updated Android phone will take really good pictures for your rooms, and you can simply upload those right in the same section here. There's photo section, but that's a very, very important part of making sure the guest experience is the guest is getting what they saw online. This facilities and services tab, let me click on that for you. This is all the amenities at your property, okay? So this is where all your amenities for your property are housed. This is where you're going to answer questions like, do you have microwaves? Do you have a swimming pool? Do you have refrigerators in your rooms? Do you have coffee makers in your rooms? Going through and marking this information is extremely important. I can tell you that if you look back in the questions and answers that a lot of guests asks, a lot of the guests are asking questions just about the stuff I mentioned there about refrigerators, microwaves, coffee makers. Now you could have that marked in your extranet under that facilities and services tab here, and guests are still going to ask that question. But if they see it on your website, all that information feeds to your website. If that information is on your website showing that you have some of those amenities and you actually don't have those, it's really going to upset the guests when they get there. I've seen that happen quite a bit. Same thing with your room amenities tab. That is the same thing as your facilities and services tab that I just showed you. This has to do with all the amenities in your rooms. Like I said, with the coffee makers, refrigerators, microwaves. Facilities and services tab basically has to do with the amenities in your hotel. The room amenities tab has to do with the amenities in your room. So making sure those are updated is important. It's only going to take you about 20 minutes, and there's nothing really to type out there. It's just basically answering questions about what you have and what you don't have. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, please feel free to share it with your friends or anybody that needs help with the reviews. And I've got more videos coming out in the future, so please be sure to subscribe to my channel and take a look at all the videos I've done in the past. I've got a lot of good videos out here about these extranets to help you improve your hotel. See you again soon.